Hello everyone, my name is Nikita and I am from the Bodhi Academy. Today we are going to study a new chapter from 9th Standard Science textbook, that is chapter number 3, Atoms and Molecules. So when we talk about atoms, first we need to know what is an atom. Okay? This word atom is referred to as the smallest particle, okay, smallest particle of matter. Okay, smallest particle or smallest entity of any matter which cannot be divided further, cannot be divided further. Further means it is indivisible. Okay, so we will be studying in this chapter the atoms, what is an atom, how the atoms were discovered, and then how it forms a molecule. Okay, how it forms a molecule. So now, how the atoms came into, like, who were the ones who were responsible for the discovery of this atom? First of all, an Indian philosopher Maharishi Kannad postulated that if we go on dividing matter, matter was referred to as padarth at that time. Okay, he referred matter to be padarth, and if he said that if we keep on dividing matter, okay, like keep on dividing into two, then again dividing this into 2, then into 2. So if we keep on dividing the matter like this, we will get smaller and smaller particles. We get smaller and smaller particles, right? So ultimately a time will come when we shall come across the smallest particle beyond which we cannot divide it further. He named these particles to be Parmanu. Okay, so he named these particles to be Parmanu. So Maharishi Kannad was the one Greek philosopher who discovered the smallest particle and named it as Parmanu. So the first contribution was by Maharishi Kannad. Okay, he found out the Parmanu. Second, another Indian philosopher, Pakuda Katayama, elaborated this doctrine and said that these particles normally exist in the combined form, which gives us various forms of matter. Okay, so he said that these small particles, they combine together, okay, in different forms to give us different forms of matter. So the next one said that the Pakuda Katayama philosopher, he said that the these particles combine to give matter. Particles combine, okay, they combine together. Then Democritus and Leucippus suggested that if we keep on dividing a matter, a stage will come when this won't be divided further, and then Democritus called these indivisible particles as atoms. Okay, meaning atoms means indivisible. So Democritus was the one in the ancient Greek philosopher who said that these particles were called as atoms. And now by the end of 18th century, scientists recognized the difference between elements, compounds, and naturally became interested in finding out how and why these elements combine. Finally, Antoine L. Lavoisier had found that there is some laws which are responsible for combination of these atoms, and these were called as laws of chemical combination. So Democritus was the one. He gave this word atoms for indivisible particles. Okay, and Antoine L. Lavoisier, he gave the laws of chemical combination. Okay, he gave the laws of chemical combination. So under laws of chemical combination, there are two further laws. That is, law of conservation of mass is the first one. So what is law of conservation of mass says? The law of conservation of mass states that the mass can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. Now we have studied in the last chapter that when there is a chemical change occurring and when two elements combine, that forms a chemical reaction. Okay, the chemical reaction, for example, H2 plus oxygen will give you H2O. Okay, so this hydrogen is combining with oxygen to form H2O. This is a chemical reaction. Okay, this is a chemical reaction. Now these are the reactants which are reacting to form the products. Okay, so now what is happening over here is that the law of conservation of mass is saying that the mass of these both, even after the formation of the product, in its own remains the same. The mass is neither created nor destroyed in the chemical reaction. It remains conserved. Okay, the mass of hydrogen and oxygen will remain conserved in a chemical reaction to form water. It will not be destroyed nor additionally added. So under laws of chemical combination, we have the first one, law of conservation of mass. In that it is said that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. In a chemical reaction. Okay, so this is law of conservation of mass. Next is the law of constant proportions. In the law of constant proportion, it is said that many compounds were composed of two or more elements, and such compound had the same elements in the proportion irrespective of whether the compound came from or who prepared it. Okay, it had the same proportion of the elements. We know that elements combine together to form the compounds. Okay, so the ratio of the elements in the compound remains the same. For example, in a compound such as water, H2O, again the same example, the ratio of mass of hydrogen, okay, the ratio of mass of hydrogen to the mass of oxygen is always 1:8. Whatever be the source of water, H2O, okay, in this the hydrogen combines in the mass 1 gram and oxygen combines in the mass 8 grams. Okay, and thus if 9 grams of water is decomposed, 1 gram will be of hydrogen and 8 grams will be of oxygen. Okay, so in H2O we have two elements, hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen combines as in 1 gram and oxygen combines in 8 grams, and together it is 9 grams. Okay, then we have the next component, that is ammonia. In this again we have two elements, nitrogen and hydrogen. Okay, nitrogen combines as 14 grams and hydrogen, each of it is 3, right? So 1 plus 1 plus 1, it will be 3 grams. Okay, together 14:3 and this is 1:8. Okay, they combine together. Now this is said that this proves that the law of definite proportions given by Proust, it says that in a chemical substance the elements are always present in definite proportions by mass. Okay, they are always present in definite proportions. These proportions, whatever may be the source of ammonia, may it be the atmosphere, may it be the soil or anywhere it is, the proportion of the elements in the compound will always be the same. Okay, then so these are the two laws, that is law of conservation of mass and law of constant proportion. Okay, then came up the next scientist who was Dalton. Okay, Dalton gave his Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, this explains many of the properties of the atoms. Okay, Dalton's atomic theory, according to him, whether an element, a compound or mixture, it is always composed of small particles called as atoms. Okay, and he gave these postulates about his atomic theory. First of all, he said that all matter is made up of very tiny particles called as atoms. So the second law which we saw over here was law of constant proportions. Okay, now we are talking about John Dalton's atomic theory and his postulates. Okay, in that we can, first one is all matter is made up of very tiny particles called as atoms. This we all know. Now second is atoms are indivisible particles which cannot be destroyed nor created in a chemical reaction. Okay, so first I will just give a keyword for each of the postulate because these postulates are important and this will make you all easy to remember. So first one is all matter is of atoms, is made up of atoms. Okay, second is atoms are indivisible. Okay, third one states that atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. For example, an element oxygen, all the atoms of oxygen element will have same mass and chemical properties. Okay, so atoms of an element have same mass and chemical properties. Okay, this is the third postulate. Now the fourth one says that atoms of different elements will have different masses. Okay, then the fifth one says that atoms combine in the ratio of small whole numbers to form compounds. So atoms combine in whole number ratio to form compound. Then the sixth one says that the relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. Okay, the relative number and the kinds of atoms, how many atoms are there and the kinds of atoms are there, they are always constant in a given compound. So atoms of an element have same mass, have different mass and chemicals properties. Okay, then atoms combine in proper ratio to form the compounds. To form compounds. So these were the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, now we will see what is an atom. Okay, so now atoms are very small. They are smaller than anything we can imagine or compare. More than millions of atoms when stacked would make a layer barely as thick as sheet of paper. Means they are so small that if you combine millions of atoms, it will just form the sheet of paper that much of thickness. Okay, the radius of an atom is in nanometer. Nanometer, we know that 1 meter equals to 10 raised to 9 nanometers. Okay, so 10 raised to 9 nanometers. So that is the range. Nanometer is the range of the radius of the atom. Okay, over here we have some figures radii of atom of hydrogen is 10 raised to minus 10. 10 raised to minus 9 is molecule of water. 10 raised to minus 8 is molecule of hemoglobin. Okay, so this is the, so atoms are, the radius of an atom is in nanometers, so that much small is an atom. So now when atoms were discovered, okay, when atoms were discovered as um, small entities, their elements, the atoms combined together to form the elements, and they had to be named. Okay, they had to be named. So the elements, Dalton was the first scientist to use the symbol for elements in a very specific sense. Okay, he used a symbol for an element. He also meant a definite quantity of that element, that is one atom of that element. Okay, for example, hydrogen, he gave this symbol. Then phosphorus, he gave this symbol. So first Dalton had named them. Then the second one came the Berzelius. Berzelius suggested that the symbols of the element should be made of the first two letters of the element. Okay, so whatever the symbol is, it should be the first two names of the element. Okay, for example, chlorine. Okay, chlorine will have Cl and zinc will have Zn. So it can be either the first two letters, or it can be first letter always, and the letter which is found later in the word, maybe the third letter, but the first letter should always be there. But some other symbols are given for some of the metal elements, such as for iron it is Fe. Okay, for iron, though iron is I, but it is given as Fe from its Latin name ferrum. Okay, then sodium is given as Na from its name natrium, and potassium is given as K from kalium. Therefore each element has a name and a unique chemical symbols. So some names were taken from the Greek, some symbols were taken from the Latin, German or Greek name of the original name, and they were given as their symbols. Okay, for example, iron was given Fe because of ferrum, sodium was given natrium because was given Na because of natrium, and potassium was given K because of its Latin name kalium. Okay, so this symbols, elements and their symbols, this table 3.1 is important. Okay, this will appear for the exam. Some of the name elements will be given and all will be asked to write the symbols. Okay, so this what we saw today. Firstly, we saw the different contributions of different philosophers in finding out the atom, the actual atom. Then we saw the two laws of chemical combination. We saw Dalton's atomic theory, and we saw what is an atom and the naming of the atom. So in the next video, we will be continuing with the chapter, with this chapter number 3, and we will be studying more concepts in detail about atoms and molecules. Okay, so thank you for watching my video. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel.